Hey, it's Jason.
Hey, it's Rohan again.
Okay, so I know now the history behind nuclear weapons and the movement against nuclear weapons. But how is any of this relevant today? Why should I care?
Although, as you know, the last use of a nuclear weapon in armed conflict was in 1945, nuclear weapons continue to play a massive role in the world today. Just look at some of the recent news clips. Clearly, nuclear weapons are still influencing global politics and foreign policy.
Lately, I've been hearing a lot about President elect Trump and his opinion on nuclear weapons. For the most part, however, I've been confused by his views. For example, what does Trump's finger on the button even mean?
Let's zoom in on President-elect Trump's views. First and foremost, we need to clarify some things about the presidential powers over nuclear weapons. 1. Only the president can direct the use of nuclear weapons. The president does not need congressional approval. This is important since in our Princeton survey, 31% of participants believed he did not need prior approval. 2. The nuclear football allows the president to authorize a nuclear strike anywhere in the world at any time. Although President Trump will have control of American nuclear arms, there's a complex chain of command that spans the U.S. Strategic Command, Department of Defense, and military personnel to actually fire a nuclear weapon. Unlike other presidents, our very unusual election season and candidates have brought nuclear weapons into the spotlight. News media and politicians have questioned Trump's temperament about using nuclear weapons given his history of brash decision making. His rivals, for example, have said, in fact, Bruce Blair, a nuclear security expert at Princeton's program on science and global security, was even featured in a Clinton campaign video.
I spent many years as a nuclear missile launch officer. If the president gave the order we had to launch the missiles, that would be it. I prayed that call would never come. Self-control may be all that keeps these missiles from firing.
I would bomb the out of them.
I want to be unpredictable.
I love war.
The thought of Donald Trump with nuclear weapons scares me to death. It should scare everyone.
So we know Trump's policies and perspectives towards nuclear weapons, but what does he intend to do as president?
Currently, it is difficult to predict the exact trajectory of President-elect Trump's nuclear policies. However, current geopolitical tensions arising from state and non-state actors will certainly bring nuclear weapons policy to the forefront of the new administration. Recently, on December 23, 2016, Trump said that the U.S. must greatly strengthen and expand its nuclear capability until the world comes to its senses regarding nukes. During a TV interview, Trump welcomed a nuclear arms race with Russia by saying, "Let it be an arms race. We will outmatch them at every pass and outlast them all." Addressing his comments, his top advisor said, "President-elect Trump recognizes the threat of nuclear proliferation and the critical need to prevent it, particularly to and among terrorist organizations and rogue regimes." He has also emphasized our need to improve and modernize our deterrent capability as a vital way to pursue peace through strength. Surprisingly, Trump has also advocated for more states to gain nuclear weapons, such as Saudi Arabia, Japan, and South Korea, to reduce American military dependencies. While Trump views seem to shapeshift daily, this is important since in our survey, only about 52% of Princeton students knew his view. President Trump will most likely continue the $1 trillion plan to upgrade and modernize American nuclear arms capabilities through newer submarines, bombers, and weapon systems. However, with the resurgent Russia under President Putin, a nuclear-armed North Korea, border tensions between India and Pakistan, and disputes over the South China Sea, President Trump will have to confront a lot of nuclear decisions.
Still, this seems to be on the global political level. These decisions are going to be made by world leaders and military strategists. How do nuclear weapons actually affect me? Why should I care about nuclear weapons policy?
Well, nuclear arms policy has and will continue to influence your life directly. Currently, the United States is preparing a $1 trillion plan to modernize most of its nuclear weapon systems. The improvements include replacing the Minuteman III missiles by creating a new missile system connected via a secure cyber network, costing upwards of $100 billion. Replacing current nuclear submarines that fall in compliance of the START Treaty and are sleeker. Replacing and upgrading an entire slew of bombers, including the B-2, B-52H, B-21, to have more global command and control activities. As of now, the United States Department of Defense spends $60 billion on nuclear weapons maintenance. U.S. nuclear spending represents 60% of global nuclear spending worldwide. The slated 30-year, $1 trillion plan will be funded by the current and future taxpayer. That taxpayer will be you.
Wow, I had no idea about a modernization plan. I thought the United States and other nuclear nations were in the process of dismantling and reducing their nuclear weapons programs.
You're not wrong to have that assumption, given the trend of nuclear weapons activism. In fact, during our survey, 92.4% thought exactly that. Only 8% of students knew that nuclear arsenals were being revamped.
Very eye-opening. Are there other ways nuclear weapons will affect my life?
In fact, nuclear weapons permeate into many governmental policy decisions, including terrorism. Many of these Middle East terrorist networks are near nuclear-armed states, such as Pakistan and Israel. Recently, the threat of nuclear terrorism by non-state actors, that is, groups like Al-Qaeda, ISIS, or the Taliban, have been on the rise. Look at some of these headings. The threat of nuclear terrorism grows given that many of these terrorist networks are near nuclear-armed states, such as Pakistan and Israel. In 2009, Congress appointed the Commission on Prevention of Weapons of Mass Destruction and Terrorism to examine possible routes of nuclear terrorism on the United States. Hearings by that committee have concluded to concerns about Pakistani armed safety and nuclear scientists. Aside from the Middle East, independent assessments have found that terrorists could easily acquire nuclear weapons-grade fissile material, given the amount of unsecured plutonium-239 or uranium-235 in the world. Currently, no government or international organization knows exactly how much fissile material exists or is secured by state actors. Even as out of sight and out of mind nuclear weapons are for the U.S. population, nuclear terrorism is a very real and present threat.
Is there anything I can do about nuclear weapons and the threat they pose? Can I do anything as a student?
I'm glad you asked. Stick around for the next video to truly learn all about the ways you as a student can change our nuclear weapons policy.